Hey guys, welcome back to Steve Basinger Fishing. That's me, Steve Basinger. Everyone screws that name up, so I feel like I need to say it a lot. It's not Basinger, Basinger, whatever. It's Basinger. So anyways, now that that's over, we're doing something today. We're doing some things. We are going fishing, obviously, because why else would you be here? But we're not ice fishing. We're going fishing, like with big rods, casting, all that neat stuff. I haven't got to do that since July, and we're almost out of March, so to say I'm pumped would be a gross understatement. So we're going to do something a little different, something we haven't done on this channel before. We're actually going to fish from the shore. We still have ice here in Omaha, but the lakes are starting to thaw out. You've got strips of open water around the shoreline. Some of the creeks have kind of opened up, stuff like that. And so, I mean, our lakes are just a couple hundred acres here, so they're not very big as it is. So we're going to run over to the storage unit, to the boat, grab a couple rods, and see what happens. I don't even know if I'm going to get a bite today. I don't care. I'm pumped. It's 48 degrees, which is probably cold for a lot of you guys. Really warm for us right now. And I think it's supposed to get up to like the mid-50s, maybe even 60 today. There's no wind. There's not a cloud in the sky, so the beautiful weather, not particularly the greatest fishing conditions, but considering this is day one of open-ish water for me this year, it's the best fishing conditions I could ask for. So you guys stick with us. Maybe we can make something happen. Okay, well, we're here at the lake now. Still a lot more ice on here than I thought there'd be. But once again, look, it's not even windy. You guys probably can't even hear wind right now. At least I hope not. But nice day. God, it's great. So I told myself I'd only grab 2 rods because I'm just bank fishing in this tiny little box of tackle. But I ended up grabbing 5. And based off of the watercolor, which I've already looked at, water's kind of dirty. So now I'm down to 4 because I did bring a jerk bait. But now I'm down to, what I got, a football jig, a flipping jig, a lipless, and a spinner bait. And then in the box I've got a couple jigs and spinner bait, some trailers. I mean, if the lake's still frozen, can't imagine there's going to be a whole lot of action. Any bite that we get is going to be, just a blessing. So let's just see what happens. That's Mr. MX down there. I'll work with him. He's trying to catch something, but he's probably not going to. I'm gonna make you famous, MX. Okay, managed to make it down here without busting my butt. So even though the water is cold, probably still in the high 30s, low 40s, I'm still going to start with this spinner bait, which I know you guys are thinking, well, if it's cold, why don't you start with something like a jig? But I always like to start with something that you can chunk and wind, no matter how cold or how hot it is. I always like to start with that, because you never know. Sometimes fish are just active as it is. And also with it being spring, and me screwing up casts like that, and sometimes the fish are at ice out, they'll just be raring to go just as it is. So sometimes you can just catch them. Be surprised and just start catching them like this just immediately. So I'm just going to slow roll this spinner bait around here for a few casts and see what happens. As you can see, this water is way dirty. I mean, look at that. I can't see 6 inches maybe. It ain't much. And then you got ice just 20 feet out, so you don't have a whole lot to cast at. But when you get around these rocks, these riprap banks, these fish will pull up on these rocks because they warm so much faster. They'll pull up on them and actually get pretty shallow despite how cold the water is. So sometimes you can catch them just right off these rocks, even when it's still really cold, especially on these sunny days. So you don't see a lot of guys do this very often. Well, that's not true. A lot of guys do this, but I feel like the majority of bass fishermen do not. What I'm talking about is right now I'm fishing a lipless crankbait. And a lot of guys, you know, they're gonna reel and do a stop and go and all that kind of stuff. What I'm doing is, you know, again, the water's cold. So I'm throwing it out there, letting it hit the bottom, and then I'm really just working it like a jig or a Texas rig. Everyone knows how to fish a Texas rig. Really like you fish a worm. You know, you small pickups with a rod tip, hops. You can even just do light pulls. I mean, it doesn't take much. Any good lipless crankbait, you're going to feel that wiggle, even when you pull really light. You know, obviously you don't want to do it too much around true like wood. You don't want to do it around wood too much because, I mean, look, there's nothing really to deflect off wood. But around grass, sand, clay, you can even get by in some rocks depending on how your rocks are. But a tight wobbling, tight wiggling crankbait is always good in cold water. I mean, that's when it really shines. And that's exactly what a trap or a lipless crankbait is. It's just a real tight wiggle. I mean, if you ever pay attention to ice fishing, watch any ice fishing videos, this is what guys are using a lot of times, jigging straight up and down in the ice. They're jigging like a 1/4 ounce or smaller lipless crankbait straight up and down through the ice. And that's how they're catching everything. Giant walleyes, crappie, largemouth and smallmouth bass, just everything. They catch them all that way. So if you work this like a jig, it still works that way. And I'm using a crawfish color, so because it's spring, always good color for that. I forget exactly what this one's called. This is actually a XM8 from Skirmish Baits that they made previously. I don't know if they're going to run them again this year. I sure hope they do, because God, I love this bait. So if any of you guys on this channel are bank fishermen, which I'd like to think we all were at one point at least, when you're walking around, you want to try to be pretty quiet with your footfalls, especially for any of you guys that like to fish ponds, because a lot of times those fish are sitting right on the shoreline and they're so in tune with vibrations. They can feel you walking along, clumping along with your feet. Like in this case, I'm around all this rock which moves, so I'm kind of at a big disadvantage as it is. But if you can be quiet, sometimes it'll get you a few extra bites. Again, today, I just want one bite. Just one. Well, this sucks. Let's go try another lake. Okay, well, we're back at the boat. I just put all the rods away. That's going to be it for the day. Now, I know what you're sitting here thinking. Like, I can't believe I just sat here and watched an entire video of this douchebag not catching a fish. Not even getting a bite. And look, man, I don't like doing it either. I don't like posting them. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I know there's a lot of videos out here where it's just more like a highlight reel. And I've got those videos. But I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Always. This is real fishing. This is not staged. This is not just my compilation of best clips. You guys are going to see the real stuff too. There are going to be times where I zero. Whether you like to admit it or not, I know you got your days where you zero too. It happens to all of us far more than we like to tell people. It happens, man. So that's it for today. I don't know when I'm going again. Hopefully soon. Things are getting better. I can promise we're not going to have, hopefully, any more of these 0 days. But they happen, and we'll just roll with it. I'm not going to lie, though. This keeps happening. I'm going to get really mad. It wasn't that awesome today. It was just nice to get out and cast again. So, until the next video, see you guys on the water.